Recording in progress.
Okay, so we started the chapter number 4, cell membrane and transport, and we have discussed the phospholipids. Then there was a discussion on the membrane, the structure of the membrane, and all the components in the membrane. I hope you are clear with these things. If you have any confusion, you can tell me right now. Okay, we can repeat the thing. We
Okay.
have discussed all these glycoproteins, glycolipids, what are the functions of these carrier proteins, and the inner, how the substances are transported from the outer surface to the towards the inner surface, and the function of the cholesterol and the function of phospholipids, glycolipids, glycoproteins in the cell membrane. We have done till this. Now we will be discussing cell signaling. Do you have any confusion till this part?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay. Now, in cell signaling, basically it is, when we talk about the signals, it is about uh, like how cell will respond to anything which is far away from that particular cell. Like, the signals how we behave when there are, according to the signals. Similarly, in our body, in living organisms, there are signals. There is need of signals. All cell and all organisms, they respond appropriately to their environment. It is the necessary condition that all the organisms has to appropriately respond to their external environment. Okay, not only external but the internal environment. Right now we are discussing the internal environment. Just like for example, if there is any danger in front of you, so definitely you will try to escape that place. Okay, you will try to move away from that place. So this is your response towards that particular thing. Similarly,
Stimuli?
inside, yeah, stimulus, just like that, there is inside our body there are different stimuli, and to those stimuli our body responds, and the cell also responds. The cell gives the signals. Okay, and
Okay.
different things are happening in the body at the same time. So in this they have mentioned cell signaling is an important rapidly expanding area of research. This is, you can ignore this. What is signaling? Basically, signaling is getting a message from one place to another. This is simple, right? Signaling is what we the message from one
From
place
one
to
place to another.
another. Yes, and they have asked the question: why do living organisms need signaling? So all the cells and organisms must be able to respond appropriately to their environment. This is what I'm saying. Basically, in biology, there is a chapter of homeostasis. You know homeostasis?
Yeah.
Now, what is homeostasis?
It's the body's reaction to the external environment.
Yes, how the internal conditions of body will change according to the external environment, right? So basically,
Yeah.
this similar is the case over here, that we talk about, that all the organisms, they must be able to respond appropriately to their environment. This is made possible by means of complex range of signaling pathways. Just like, the neurons, the nervous pathway, right? The nervous pathway.
Yeah.
Then there is a chemical pathway in terms of hormones. Okay? Hormones provide chemical signals. So, similarly, there are different, some more pathways as well. So, the cell will coordinate accordingly. Like, where there is need of the nervous pathway, there will be, obviously, there will be nervous response, and then where there is a need of hormonal response, there will be hormonal response. But remember one thing, it is not the case that no response is dependent on the other response. They all are dependent on each other. At the same time, when there is nervous response happening, there will be hormonal response also happening in the body. Okay, because your hormones also work. I
Okay.
am saying simultaneously, many of the signals work simultaneously to bring one change. Okay, are you getting my point? It's
Yeah.
not the case that there is just one thing happening at one time, and after completing that thing, then new thing will happen. This is not the case. But basically, just like I told you, the situation when there is danger. So what will happen? Simple is that you can say, firstly there will be nervous response as well as there will be hormonal response. The both responses will be there. Okay. The basic idea of signaling pathway can be summarized in this figure. If you see this figure 4.6, what they have mentioned, this is stimulus, right? Any stimulus or any signal, the receptors are present in your body. Okay. If we talk about external stimulus, if we talk about the external stimulus, maybe any danger. So your receptors will perceive that stimulus. And what are the receptors? You know the receptors?
Receptors,
What are receptors?
um, they're they're the things that receive the signal.
Yes, they are basically specialized proteins. Okay, receptors are specialized proteins and they are located on the cell surface. Okay, or within the cells. Okay, let me write it over here. I'm writing the definition. You can take the screenshot. Receptor are specialized proteins. They may be located on surface of the cell or may be present inside cell. Okay, or within the cell.
On the
And they,
surface of the cell.
yes, or they may be present on the surface or they may be present inside the cell. And what is their function? They detect,
Stimuli.
yes, they
Stimuli.
detect the stimuli. They detect the stimuli and then give the signal to the, give signal forward for the function. Okay, they receive and interpret signals. Basically, you can say for external and internal stimuli. They will detect the stimuli. You can write till this. Okay, those which are present on the surface of the cell, they are known as cell surface receptors. Okay, cell surface receptors, and those which are present within the cell, they are known as intracellular receptors.
Interesting.
Yes, within the cell.
Okay.
Hmm. Are you clear with this?
Yeah,
Okay, you have written, or you can take the screenshot.
I'll take a screenshot.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. Now, if we talk about this, yes, yes. Signaling pathway include a receiving stimulus. Okay, this there is a receiving stimulus or signal. Then there is transmission, transmitting the message and making an appropriate response. So basically, this receptor, what is it doing? This receptor is receiving the stimulus and then it is transmitting this to the target organs.
Receptor.
Okay, yeah. No, the receptor is receiving the signal. Okay, and then the receptor is transmitting that to the specific part, just like the brain. Okay, and then there will be some action done, and the message will be transferred to the targeted organ. Target means those effectors which will bring a response to this stimulus. Okay, just like I told you that there is an emergency situation in front of you. Something is like there is fire maybe. So what will happen? Your receptors will perceive that. Your receptor will perceive the stimulus. They will transmit the message to the brain, okay, through the relay neurons, and then basically there are the three types of neurons: the sensory neurons, relay neurons, and the motor
Yeah.
neurons. Okay,
Modern. Yeah.
yes, the sensory neurons, what they do? They take message from the stimuli. Okay, the sensory neuron. It is a function of the sensory neurons. And those sensory neurons will then give message to the relay neurons in your brain, in the CNS. And then relay neurons will send the message to the target organ, and then target organ will give response in the form of motor neurons. Okay, so there are three types of neurons: sensory neurons, relay neurons, and then motor neurons. Basically, Rayleigh neurons, they make connection between sensory neurons and the motor neurons. Okay,
The, this is
Rayleigh
called, what was
neurons,
this called?
Rayleigh neurons, or there is another
Really?
name. Yeah, Rayleigh. What is the name? But in your book, this is written as Rayleigh neurons that are
Yeah.
giving connection to the sensory neurons and motor neurons. Okay, so this is what happening. The conversion of the original signal to a message that is then transmitted is called transduction. Okay, this process is known as transduction. Remember this thing. This is very important. What is transduction? The conversion of original signal into form of a message. This was the original signal, the stimuli. Basically, it was the original signal. Now the receptor has converted into a message, right? The receptor has converted it into a message. Are you getting
Yeah.
my point?
Yeah.
And that will be transmitted further. So this transmission of the message is known as transduction. Clear?
Transit what? Transmission?
Transmission of the message is known as transduction. Okay.
Transduction. Okay.
Okay, let me open this. This is page number 87. I hope it may open in the open board. It is easy to write in open board. Okay. Is this visible?
It's
I can zoom
loading
in.
one
I
second.
can zoom in.
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Okay. So basically, I was telling you about the transduction process. What is transduction? Transduction is basically the conversion of the original signal, the conversion of the original signal into the message that is then transmitted to that is then further transmitted. Basically, just like when someone transfer money internationally, how they transfer through the banking apps, right? So the original money, if you use that in your own country, you use in the form of the currency in the form of notes or coins, right? But when you transfer it, how you transfer it? In the digital form from the banking app. So this is a way of transmission of the money from one place to another. Similarly, what we are discussing over here, that the conversion of original signal, basically original signal was what? That was the fire maybe. But the fire is not passing in your body, right? Signal is passing. So this is what we are discussing, that the original signal, there is conversion of the original signal by the receptors, and this transmission is known as transduction. Okay, this is known as transduction. Clear? Are you clear?
Yes.
What I am saying? What is transduction?
It's when the stimuli is transferred into an effector to effector
Yes, like in
to stimulate
whatever,
a response.
hmm, to get a response, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, and then you have, okay, this was about the cell signaling, and there is further details about it. Yes, you can see this. What is happening over here? If you see this, there is a signal. Okay, there was a signal. Now signal is in this form over here in this form, right? Then there
This
are,
the signal stick to the they stick to
hmm,
the protein receptor. What was the protein receptor called?
sorry, I didn't get what you are saying.
What was the protein receptor called?
Receptor proteins. These are receptor proteins.
Receptor proteins.
Yeah, there are basically receptor proteins, there are carrier proteins. This is receptor protein because this is receiving a signal, right? That is why it is known
Yeah.
as receptor protein. Okay. So this is receptor protein. Now it will give this signal to the activated second protein. Okay, that is this is a second messenger. Then what will happen? The second messenger will convert it into a useful signal. There will be activated enzymes and there will be a response. Basically, this is what they have mentioned that the signal is firstly when it enters, there will be activation of the second messenger protein, and then that will amplify the signal. Okay. Basically, when the signal was here, if you see, there was just one small signal, one ball. Okay. So now, if you see this one over here, you have amplified the signal. You have increased its strength. Why there is need of amplification? So that you get a response.
More
Sorry.
to get more signals or
Yes, to get the so that your signals may not drop. Sometimes the signaling can be weak if you don't amplify, if your body don't amplify it. Okay. So to have a
okay.
stronger effect and to have a complete effect, there is need to amplification. Okay. We can study it from here. Distance traveled may be short as with diffusion from where they have started this. Maybe. Okay. Now, yeah, they are asking, they are discussing the distance of this. Distance traveled by may be short as within the diffusion with one cell or long as with long distance transport in blood. So basically, they are saying that now we are talking about the signals within the body, okay? Because we are talking about cell signaling. So maybe there is something present in your body at some position, and there is need of producing response at another position. So what they're saying, they are saying distance traveled may be short. The distance traveled by the signal. Okay, they are talking about
The
the
signal.
signal. Yes, distance traveled by the signal may be short, as with diffusion within one cell. Like for example, there is this cell and there is this cell, and maybe something has to transfer from this cell to this cell. So the distance is too short. The distance is too short, so there will be diffusion. Are you getting my point?
Yeah, so the signals will be transferred faster.
Yes, when they are close and when they can be of the same size when the signal is basically signal is in the form of chemicals, so it can basically transfer easily with diffusion when the two cells are close to each other. Okay,
Okay.
and sometimes it can be long. It can be long. How it can be long? Okay, basically I can take this over. There's no need of it. Yes, it may now it can be long as well. It can be long. How long it can be? Like for example, in the blood, in elements. For example, there is need of a change in the kidneys, okay? But the signal will come from the brain. I'm just giving you an example from your CNS, central nervous system. So there is a large distance, isn't it, for signal to transfer from your brain towards your kidney. So sometimes signal has to cover a longer distance. Okay, just like the phloem in the plants. You know the function of the phloem in the plants.
Yeah,
What is their
it
function?
it's for the translocation,
Yes, of
transpiration.
not transpiration. Sorry, what you are saying?
There was like something in IGCSE with water
Transport.
transport.
That is xylem. Transportation of water is xylem. Is done by xylem.
Yeah.
Basically, in plants there are two types of tissues: phloem and xylem. Xylem are
Yeah.
responsible for transporting minerals and the water. But
Yeah.
when we talk about the food particles, the food particles
Yeah.
are transmitted by the phloem tissues. So plants, different parts of the plants are at different positions. So when the food will be formed at one place, it will be transported to all different parts. So in this way, the signal is traveling at a longer distance. So this is what they are talking about. There are usually many components and different mechanisms along with the route. Yeah, this is simple. You can understand that Obviously, there will be different mechanisms happening. Whenever there is a
Yeah.
signal, it is not the case that all the signals will transported with same mechanism. It is not the case. Every signal will respond to some specific mechanism. There will be some specific mechanism associated with a particular signal. Okay,
Okay.
it is not a generic case. That's why we say that in human beings there is so much complexity, not only in human beings, but in all multicellular organisms. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, signaling include both electrical and chemical events. Okay. Now, there are electrical events and chemical events. What are electrical events? They may be in the form of nervous system. Okay. In the your nervous system gives the electrical response, and chemical response is given by the hormones. Okay. Remember this thing. Electrical signal is given by,
Electrical.
yeah,
The
nerves.
hormone.
Electrical nerves, nerve
The
impulse,
chemical signal is
uh,
given by the hormones,
hormones.
but
Yes.
okay.
Yes, you know the when we talk about the nervous system, that our nervous system give rapid response, right? It produces a
Yeah.
rapid response. So it produces that response in the electrical signal, in the form of electrical signal, like the electrical signal jump from the node to node of the neuron. We will discuss in detail when we will discussing about the neurons. What is the structure of the neurons? In that you will understand that the how neurons proceed electrical signal in a faster way. At this stage, you just need to remember that when we talk about the hormonal response or the nervous response, always remember that nervous response will be faster. Okay, because it is
Okay.
done by the in the form of electrical events. Clear? Are you
Yeah.
clear with this? Okay.
Yeah.
Then signaling include both electrical and chemical events and their interaction with each other. For example, the events associated with the nervous, yeah, this is what they have mentioned now. That the events are associated with the nervous system, okay, and hormonal system. Clear? In animals. These events involve a wide range of molecules produced by the cell within the body. Now, what they are saying that whenever there is hormonal response or whenever there is nervous response, your body will release a range of molecules. Okay, there will be a range of molecules that will be associated with those cells to proceed nervous response or to proceed hormonal response. Okay, just like the carriers, they are just like the carriers. These molecules act as a carrier to move that particular signal to a specific position. They are saying that whenever there are different events happening in the body, those events will be occurring by two major type of responses. There will be nervous response and there will be hormonal response. And whenever there is nervous response or hormonal response, your cells will there will be a range of molecules that will be associated with your cells to proceed that particular nervous response or to proceed that hormonal response. Are you getting this?
So like yeah.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
like hormones and neurotransmitters. That's what
Yes, yes, this is what they're saying.
that's where the signals are.
This is what they're saying. That there are hormones. In hormonal response, there is involvement of hormones, and in nervous response, there is involvement of neurotransmitters. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Similarly, as well as outside stimuli, like they have given this whole scenario not only for the internal response, internal cell signaling, but also when there are external stimuli. These all things will apply for both the stimulus, no matter if the signal is external or internal. There will be two types of responses, hormonal response or nervous response. And hormonal response will be done by hormones, and nervous response will be done by neurotransmitters. Clear?
Yeah. Okay.
And
Yeah.
external stimuli may be, in external stimuli, what can be external stimuli? Anything which is not, you can say, which is not familiar with your normal perception. Okay? That can be external stimuli. Clear?
Yes.
Light, drugs,
And
pheromones
pheromone.
and odors, any smells, right? All
What is
these things.
pheromone?
They're just like the chemicals which are also, they also irritate sometimes and they have they are basically secreted in the insects, secreted by the particular type
Insect.
of insects. Yes, and they respond in terms of, you can say, when they want to sexually attract their partner. In that
Oh,
case, they release the pheromones. These are
okay.
a type of chemical substance.
So
Okay,
only in insects.
not only in insects, but there are some animals as well. But
Okay.
particularly when we talk about, we say that it commonly they are present in the insects. Okay,
Okay.
yeah, okay. Yes. Can you tell me briefly what how our body will respond to the external stimuli and to the internal stimuli?
When the stimuli is detected by the receptors,
Mm-hmm.
there are three types of receptors:
Hmm.
the sensory, the relay, and the motor neurons.
Yes.
There's two types of signals: electrical and chemical.
Hmm.
The electrical signals are received by the nerves, and the chemical signals are received by the hormones.
Hmm.
And the hormonal response is received by the hormones, and the electrical response is received by the neurons.
Yes.
There are
Hmm.
there
And
are
what about the distance?
the actors.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's the shorter the diffusion rate between the neurons, the faster the signals will be received or
Hmm.
transmitted.
Yes. When the two cells are close to each other, and when the two things, yeah, when the two cells are close to each other, then there will be signal will be easily diffused. And when there is a
Yeah.
longer distance, it will take time. Okay. Now, the cell surface membrane is a critical component of most signaling pathway. That is why we have discussed what are the components present in the cell membrane. That we will link all those things and that we have studied. What were the main components in the cell membrane?
The main components
Hmm.
of the cell membrane
What is
were
the most
the
important thing in the cell membrane?
phospholipids,
Hmm.
the glycoproteins, the
Hmm.
phospholipids,
Hmm. And
the
cholesterol.
cholesterol,
Yes, cholesterol is also there.
and
Hmm.
glycolipid. Yeah,
And
that was all.
so,
There's
okay.
glycoproteins,
Yes,
phospholipids,
there are
phospholipids.
different proteins facilitated.
Yeah,
There are proteins, carrier proteins, and yeah, there are transport proteins. There are carrier proteins. And there is cholesterol. The main thing is phospholipid bilayer. Without that, cell membrane cannot be formed. Okay,
yeah,
so the cell surface membrane is a critical component of most signaling pathways because it is a barrier. Okay, why it is important? Because whenever in your body, if the signal is transporting from one position to another, if it is transmitting, when it needs to enter the cell, there is a barrier. Okay, the cell membrane acts as a barrier. That is why the cell surface membrane is the critical component for most of the signaling pathways because the cell membrane acts as a barrier to the movement of the molecule, controlling what moves between the external and internal environments of the cell. Are you getting this? Like if someone is randomly moving in the streets, okay, there is no one will stop him. But if you want to enter someone's house, obviously they will not allow him, right?
yeah,
And similar is the case over here. When there is signals, if they are moving randomly in your body, there will be no objection in their movement. Only there will be objection when they want to enter a cell. Okay. So in your cell membrane, there are checkpoints. There is glycoproteins, there are glycolipids. They will allow the specific substances. I told you that phospholipid bilayer, from the phospholipid bilayer, only lipids can pass. Non-polar things can pass. Polar things cannot pass from this region. Okay, from this region. I told you that water cannot pass. Why? Because water is polar. So it needs some of the carrier proteins or some of the things which can transfer this water to the inside of the cell. Are you getting this?
Can you repeat that?
I'm saying that we have discussed that the phospholipid bilayer that is it is non-polar in nature, right?
Yeah.
So only non-polar things can pass through it. Okay. How can polar things
Matter.
will pass? They need some specific channel
Protein.
proteins, right? This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If water want to diffuse from this, it cannot diffuse. If water want to diffuse from this region, it cannot diffuse. Why? Because water is polar in nature, while the phospholipid bilayer is non-polar in nature. Okay. So similar is the case for cell, for the signal. If that particular signal is maybe if that particular signal is having more concentration in that there is more properties of the non-polar thing, then it can diffuse easily. But if there is polarity, there is more polarity, then that signal need to enter through some carrier proteins, some channel proteins. Are you getting my point?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is what we are discussing here, that there is
They
the
can
cells.
only enter through the protein receptor.
Yeah, there are channels, not only the protein, yeah, protein receptors and what were the main, there were carrier proteins and there was transport proteins. And for
Yeah.
sodium and potassium, we discussed the pump, the sodium pump and the potassium pump, if you remember. Like there are
Yeah.
particular for the sodium and potassium. So those things will, the sodium ion, the potassium ion will transfer from that region only. Okay, they
Yeah.
cannot diffuse. Okay, now in a typical signaling pathway, molecule must cross or interact with the cell surface. Okay, in a typical, like in a normal pathway. In normal pathway, what they are saying that molecule should cross the cell surface membrane simply. So how this will happen? Signaling molecules are very diverse. This is very important. That is why there is they feel a barrier. Okay, because they are diverse. They are not simple molecules which can easily diffuse. Signaling molecules are diverse. If they are hydrophobic, such as steroid hormones or estrogen, the example of steroid hormone is estrogen, they can diffuse directly. Why they can diffuse directly if they are
Because
hydrophobic in
they're
nature?
small, and
Hmm?
because of the layer, they can go move through the hydrophobic
Yes, because you
hydrophilic
will
layer.
say the center of this cell membrane is hydrophobic. Okay, because
Yeah.
there are tails in the center. So the center is hydrophobic. That's why the it can easily diffuse. Okay, the estrogen hormone, that is steroid hormone, it is a type of steroid hormone. It can easily diffuse directly across the cell surface membrane and bind to the receptor in the cytoplasm or the nucleus. So basically, till now we have discussed what entry of the signal. Okay, this is what entry of the signal. How the signal will enter the cell. So in this, they are telling us that signal molecules are very diverse. They may be hydrophobic in nature. They may be hydrophilic in nature. Okay, if they will be hydrophilic, they need to be transported from some special carrier proteins or the channel proteins. Otherwise, they cannot pass. And when we talk about the some hydrophobic substances, just like the steroid hormones, the estrogen, they can easily diffuse because they are hydrophobic in nature. And when they will enter in the cell, then they will bind to the receptor in the cytoplasm or the nucleus. Then further working will be done. Okay.
Okay.
Firstly, we are talking about how signals enter in the cell. Okay.
They
Hmm?
enter through the
Mhm.
enter to the protein receptor.
And they have asked the
Or
question, why does cell surface membrane not provide a barrier to the entry of hydrophobic molecules?
hydrophobic because they can diffuse through the hydrophilic
Hmm.
tails of the
Hmm.
phospholipid layer,
Yes,
bilayer.
you will say the center region of the cell membrane is hydrophobic in nature. Okay, the center of the of the cell membrane is hydrophobic part. So that's why they can easily diffuse from the cell membrane, and they can enter inside the cell, or they can leave the cell. Clear? Are you clear with this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. My mic
Mm,
was sorry.
okay. More commonly, the signaling molecules is water soluble. Yeah, this is now what they're saying. When in general, if we talk about the things, so signaling molecules are mostly water soluble. They are polar in nature, okay, mostly. So in this case, a typical signaling pathway starts with the signal arriving at a protein receptor, okay? There is a protein receptor in a cell surface membrane. You know, those carrier proteins or facilitated those transport proteins. Those protein will work as protein receptor. You know, I told you about the ligand receptor in the previous lecture,
Yeah,
if you remember. Yeah, so what was
yeah.
that? That was protein receptor. You remember the function?
They receive the yeah, they
Hmm.
receive the signaling molecules.
Yes. And what was the specific name for that? Ligand
For
mediated
their
receptor.
ligand what?
Ligand mediated receptor.
They
Ligand,
receive the
ligand. They receive the ligand.
okay.
These receptor proteins can also be named as ligand mediated receptors. Okay.
Receptors.
Yes. Because they are providing a response to the ligands. And what are ligands? Ligand can be anything, any of these stimuli which is coming. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The receptor is a specific shape which recognize the signal. Okay, now they are saying the receptor will be of a specific shape like this. This is a protein receptor. So it has a specific shape and it will detect that. It will detect that signal. Clear? Just like
The protein receptors, they
hmm.
receive the ligand.
Yeah, this signal is ligand. This is known as ligand,
Okay.
isn't it? The receptor is known as this was ligand.
Ligand receiving.
Hmm.
What was the receptor called? Ligand mediated
Receptors.
receptors.
Yes.
Okay.
Now they are saying that that receptor is of a specific shape, which will recognize the signal. Okay, it will recognize the signal. Clear?
Yeah.
That receptor. What is that receptor? You can simply keep in mind the protein receptor. Simply keep that in mind. This one. This one. This is a protein receptor. It has a specific shape and it will easily detect the signal. Clear? Are you getting this?
Yeah.
Okay. Then only cells with this receptor can recognize the signal. Only cell with this receptor can recognize the signal. Now what they're saying that on this signal there will be like let's say this is a signal and on this signal there are specific receptors like this. Okay, there are specific receptors and those specific receptors will be present on the
Protein
protein.
receptors.
So that's why protein will detect it. This is what they're saying.
Okay.
Read this again. What they're saying that the receptor is a specific shape which
So
recognizes the signal.
so
How it will
they're
recognize?
complementary together.
Hmm?
So the shape is complementary to the signal.
Yes. Only cell with this receptor can recognize the signal. It's just like the enzyme substrate complexes, just like that.
Yeah.
So in and it molds the shape according to the signal, the incoming signal.